Hi, I'm Marissa, and I survived a brutal attack by a rapist. I would say, I've been living back in Torrance for about a year and a half in this specific area, and I do feel safe walking my dogs at night. I'm a waitress. I'm trying to get into nursing school. So I got home from work and I laid down for a little bit. I was tired, but my little dog Seamus really wanted to go out. And so I had my pajama pants on or top, and I put a vest on with, all my things in it for them, and walked down there, and then went just beeline into the park toward the trash can. I didn't even make it halfway there before I was attacked from behind and pushed to the ground. Completely surprised. I didn't have any headphones in. Wasn't looking at my phone. My head wasn't down. I was just going straight toward, getting rid of the dog waste that was in my hand. And then I would have returned to the perimeter and let them out into the grass area to walk around and have gone home. It's something that everyone who knows me has been to this park with me. So it's a very familiar place to me. It's almost directly across the street from me. I feel like I've always been fairly cautious. I'm a woman who's, never gone alone to a hotel room with a man. I'm, very chaste. I'm very careful in so many ways. But that night, I ran into the wrong person at the wrong time. Actually, during my attack, I was never knocked unconscious at all. I was completely conscious for the entire 25 minutes of my attack. I was never knocked out. I remember everything. I just was fighting for my life. I was knocked down from behind, and all I could think of was get out from up under this person, because I was knocked down to where I was falling flat, and they were on top of me, pushing me down. And so all I could think is lift up, and get out from under this person, because clearly this is a rapist and a murderer, and he's going to kill you. When I was first knocked down, I didn't feel any physical pain at that point. I was just trying to get out from up under him, but he started kind of like barrel rolling me in a sense, where he had control of my hands at all times, which made me think that maybe he was a wrestler in high school. He was very, very good at keeping me pinned down. I'm only 4'11 3/4. I'm not even 5 feet tall. I'm a woman of really small stature. And this person, my attacker, is only about 5'8" as well, which I think was really lucky for me, because if he were a man of larger stature and landed as many punches as he did, there's a really good chance I would have been brain damaged and blinded. So that's the first thing they checked when I got to the hospital, is they gave me an MRI to see if I was brain damaged, because I was punched about 15 to 20 times with a fist in my face. My nose is broken in 4 different places. I'm still swollen here. This whole bone was shattered. And throughout the attack, when I wasn't compliant, because I wasn't at first, I just know that this person kept hitting me in the face until I kept saying, okay. And then at one point, during the attack, when it goes on for 30 minutes, there's a lot of different things that are happening. You're being raped in different positions. You're trying to get away from this person. You're laying on your back, on your stomach. They have complete control of you, and you're in the dirt. I was in the dirt in the park. So there were times where you just say, okay, because at one point, I was being punched so furiously in the face that I just watched one of my teeth just completely fly out of my mouth and into the grass. There was a point, I think at least during half of the attack, that I was screaming my head off. I'm being raped, I'm being killed, please someone come get me, please someone come get me. To whereas he mocked me and said, nobody's coming for you, are they? And it just was my horrible luck that no one came along. And there was a part of the street next to where I was attacked are these tract homes, but it was July, and people had their windows closed and their air conditioning on. It was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so no matter what I screamed, no one was coming. Most of my clothing was left on and just pulled down. I had to get a tetanus shot because of it. I've had to have, a lot of different surgeries because of this. oral surgeries. I had to have at least 10 to 12 to 15 different injections to make sure that whatever this person exposed me to, I don't, I don't have in my body. That includes HIV. At one point, I complied, and I knew that if I didn't, I was beaten so horribly that I was blinded too for the most part at that point. So there was nothing else for me to do. And I did ask him, "Are you going to kill me?" Because I wanted to know, because he'd strangled me at one point. And he said, "No, I'm not going to kill you." And for whatever reason, I believed him. I thought, I am going to get out of this alive. He's not going to kill me. I fought back in so many different ways, kicking, biting his fingers, biting his. My dogs came back. They ran away. I believe that my little dog Seamus went to go find somebody, because he's a healer in that sense. And when they couldn't find someone, they came back within about halfway through the rape. And at one point, I was laying on my back being raped, and my little dog Molly was licking the blood that was spouting out of my missing tooth. And thank God he didn't hurt my little dogs for whatever reason. He wasn't violent toward them, but he was the one who ended the attack and said, "You can go now." And he walked away extremely slowly, and I had to run to a neighbor's house with one pant leg on, where I had to put the other pant leg on, and my dogs followed me right away. And as I was leaving, he said, "Don't forget your keys." And he pointed to where they were in the grass, because apparently he was worried that I wouldn't be able to get home that night. So I ran to, once he said, "You can go now," I just ran, and he walked away extremely slowly. And my dogs are very well trained. They're usually off leash anyway, so they came with me. And I just banged violently on a door across the street from where I was. And it took a while for them to come down and open it, which is even another worse nightmare, because I can see him walking away. That's how I knew when they had video surveillance of him. I recognized his gait, his walk. And there was a language barrier, but I was let in. And it took them a while to figure out what was going on. And then I kept saying, "Call the police." And then I realized I have my own phone on me, but it was pinned inside of a LLB vest that I had underneath me. So you'll see that I called the police at the same time as the people who let me into their house called the police, because I'm sure they were shocked. I mean, I was trying to tell them I was raped, I was beaten. I didn't want them to think that I'm a vagrant, that I'm, dangerous in any way. Well, once the ambulance came, there were about probably 5 or 6 men helping me, first responders, and they were shocked. They had never seen something like that, a lot of them. And I had to call my boss, who's my brother's best friend, immediately and say, probably directly after I called the police, or possibly before, I think directly after I called the police, I said, "Adam, something's happened." I called, Adam and his wife and said, "Please come get my dogs," because I didn't know what was going to happen to them. So once I was taken to Torrance Memorial, which was able to take me in a bed. I was extremely calm. I was extremely aware. I was not unconscious for any of the beating. And the rape. I was able to say everything that I wanted to say, what this person looked like, to the best of my ability. And then you're taken in, and they put you're left in your clothing with all the dirt and blood and everything on you for approximately 9 to 10 to 12 hours. They don't even want you to urinate because it could possibly pass evidence. So they wheel you to an MRI first. And obviously I was in severe shock, which is why I was so incredibly calm. Because I ended up being in that hospital at the Torrance Memorial from about 1:30 in the morning to about 10 a.m. in a bed. And then I had before your official rape kit, you have another thing that happens where you're basically, stripped down, and the detectives are taking, the crime detectives are there. And so they're taking pictures of all kinds of things of you, very private stuff. I want to talk about my tribe too, in terms of everybody came around me. And it was very devastating for my sister's adult children. But I had all of my best friends come, my cousins, everybody. It's been wonderful to me. And that's really important because I had people come every day for weeks. I had like up to 40 text messages a day at times of just people saying, are you okay? How are you doing? Which is incredible. So I'm really lucky. When it comes to whether they caught him, they did catch him. Approximately, I would say within 48 hours of my attack. My attack happened on Saturday night, and he was booked on Friday into the Torrance jail system. I know that he's mentally ill because I've already had to face him in court about 12 feet away from me. And he had specific clothing on that showed from Los Angeles County that he is in fact mentally ill because they have different outfits for prisoners. They recognized him because he had the same outfit on when on security cameras. After he raped and brutalized me, he hopped a wall and went through an area that has different condominiums. And so they have really good security footage of him. And when they saw the security footage, they recognized, we booked this guy Friday night. I recognized that sweatshirt and those pants. So they already knew who they were looking for. I'm not afraid of him. I believe that he'll never be released. There's no way that you can let somebody out on the streets like that again. In terms of how this has affected me, I do suffer from some PTSD. I don't sleep more than 3 hours at a time ever. Feel nervous a lot of the times. I feel depressed, worried. I'm not working, so that's weird for me because that's been going on for a few months while I'm just healing and just being completely out of my schedule. My sister and my dad are so traumatized they can't even drive down that street. I would say my advice to someone who's been through something like this, is to recognize that it's going to take a few months. I was in denial at first. I was telling my brother I was going to be back to work in 8 weeks. I would say that go on with your life. I'm moving out of state very soon. And I've been accepted to nursing school, and I'm going to go to nursing school. And, I want to possibly get married again and, whatever it is that people do. In terms of how I'm coping and the way I'm moving forward, I am struggling, in a lot of ways, but I do forgive him because what happened to me wasn't personal. And as a woman who has a psychology degree and wants to go into nursing, you have to understand that this person was also brutalized. It was, what he did to me was horrible, but I was just there, in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a crime of opportunity. What I can't really forgive him for is what he did to my adult, nieces and nephews who were just devastated by this. But when I think about the look on my nieces and nephews' faces and things like that, or my sister or my dad or, whomever, that's what makes it, that's what's hard to forgive is what he did to them. But I can forgive him for what he did to me. I would say the best way to support someone where something like this happened to them is just to be there and consistent, check in. It means a lot to check in. I'm getting the proper therapy, which is extremely important. Get therapy. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I think that there's truly hope after something terrible like this happens to you. I'm certainly looking forward to the rest of my life and moving on and continuing my education. And I know that this stuff is hard to hear, but I think it's important to know that for any survivor, that there is still a chance to continue on with your life, and that hope is really important.